Good morning, guys. Happy Friday. I hope everyone is good. It is the 24th of July, and this is your daily market outlook for today. Before we get into anything, understand the content on this YouTube channel or with anything that I do is for educational and informational purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing shared in my videos should be considered financial investment or trading advice. Trading and investing involves risk, and you should always conduct your own research before making any financial decisions. Any past performances discussed does not guarantee future results. You are responsible, as always, for your own financial decisions. So, this week, to be fair, just to be completely real with you guys, has been absolutely dead. Just to be honest, still a profitable week for myself, but I mean, it has been one boring hell of a week in regards to the major pairs. I'm pretty sure that some of you guys will probably agree, some of you guys maybe not, but again, I trade, a lot of the 4 hour, 1 hour time frame. So yeah. It's not been the best in regards to what has been happening in with obviously the charts. Before we get into the charts, let's have a look at what's going on today, Friday the 24th, as you guys can see. If you look, we've only got orange folder news, which has all happened this morning. All happened this morning. So again, no news for the rest of today. Uh, so yeah, man, there's no news at all for the rest of this Friday. So let's jump into the charts. Just quickly, I'm going to look at the daily because yesterday we did talk about the fact that if you guys remember, we obviously had this supply area here. Market reached into there, and for 2 days it slowed down. So we had this Friday, last Friday, and Monday we reached in, and then also Tuesday and Wednesday we reached in. So we had pretty much 4 days inside of that supply, but supply didn't take control. Supply didn't carry on moving the markets downwards. And obviously we mentioned yesterday the fact that when I seen this candle here, that obviously told me a little bit about the fact that we could potentially have demand being in control eventually. And as you guys can see, market dipped in, tapped into that demand, and then obviously had this bullish reaction. So pretty much the same scenario is we have now this new daily demand area. Now I'm going to just mark this out here so you can see. I'm just expecting the same thing at this moment in time. Are we going to dip into here and then get that new higher high created? So at this moment in time, the only thing that I can obviously talk about is the fact that we have obviously come lower than 50% of this range from this higher low to this higher high. We've come lower than that 50%, lower than a 618, and pretty much into that 786 almost. And we just tapped into the imbalance that we have here. So, we have that as confirmation for market to potentially go and create that new higher high here. Now, of course, that doesn't mean it's 100% going to happen, but I'm just saying we do have that confirmation. Yes, I would have liked to see this daily demand area met. Could it still meet? Of course. You know how the charts work. The charts, could obviously change momentum again, come into here, and then obviously go and create that high. But again, what we've got to do and what we are paid to do is just basically paid to play what we see. So there's no point in talking about this area just right now if the market's all the way up here and we have this fresh demand area. So looking at the 4 hour, what can we see? So we can pretty much see that, let me just remove this off my charts and keep on the daily. So what we can currently see is, of course, the structure that's happened. We've had obviously this internal being bullish. Unfortunately, this didn't come in deep enough for me into this demand to have this move away. So of course we didn't get, or I didn't get a catch on this demand area. But since that market has broke away, we have a new fresh demand. Now just looking at, overall market structure, we have failed to reach this supply, but we've pretty much come very close. So I'm interested to see how this candle finishes in the next 15 minutes, and then we can make a decision from there. Or I can make a decision from there if I personally think I could see market structure carry on shorting into at least this demand, and then potentially this demand go and creating that new higher high. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. So let's see how this plays out today. Of course, if you look at the wick, it's pretty large at this moment in time. Ideally, I would like to see the body finish a little bit more lower. And then obviously what you could just potentially keep your eye on is the fact that we would have, around this area as a 4 hour supply. Of course, understand as well, it is always riskier like this. And a lot of people get mistakes because we haven't come out of a supply. So what I mean by that is if the market would have, 1 second, if the market would have, let's say, wicked in to this, um, great job in Liam. 1 second. If the market would have wicked into this, filled in that imbalance and mitigate this supply, this area would be eventually a lot more stronger to obviously look for shorts on. But the fact that we haven't reached into that supply, this tells me that this is obviously coming out of imbalance, but what could happen is manipulation. We could have market getting sellers in here, then we could have market come above, take out these highs, take out any stop losses, mitigate the supply, and then get this downwards. So I'm just always aware of that. And obviously the way that this candle is finishing at this moment in time, I really, really do not like the look of it, just to be honest with you guys. From a 1 hour, obviously the 1 hour does say a little bit different. The 1 hour is, obviously this supply. But just for me, the way the 4 hour is at the moment in time, I just do not like the look of. But the 1 hour does look a little bit more nicer, just to be completely honest. Is it worth a risk? Well, personally, for me, if I was to obviously, short from here, I would just lessen my risk. So instead of risking a certain amount, let's say 1%, I would risk 0.5% or whatever that equates to in dollars with how much you risk on an account. So hopefully that makes sense. But again, I'm talking as if I'm trading a dollar. You'll know what I'm saying when I'm on the majors. Now, going into the majors, let's see what we have. From the daily on your USD, you can see that market has tapped into this supply. So we obviously had yesterday's bearish move. Market's now come up, tapped into that daily supply and volume slowing down. So we could see this area potentially just carry on shorting. For me, again, this is why I said I don't really just like the market on all of these pairs at this moment, just because look at the way it is moving. If you look at this scenario, ideally for me, I would like to see market obviously tap into this supply, fill in the imbalance that we have, and then go and create that new lower low. Longs, not interested personally. But yeah, let's see if we can get that. Is this early inducement? Is this just a build up of early sellers here? Stop losses most likely being above this. If you look at this scenario, you can see we have people most likely, 1 second, most likely looking at this and saying, support, resistance, resistance, whatever, whatever. So we could have liquidity sat above and then market could manipulate, do this, and then go from there. So that is what I'm going to keep an eye out for Euro USD. Going into the Great British Pound US dollar, pretty much the same scenario. Let's just have a look at the daily. So we obviously broke through that demand area now. Supply from here is still taking control. We have this demand area below, which is my next demand. Supply wise, we have this area here, which we haven't tagged into just yet. So that is my daily supply. Now, if I jump down to the 4, pretty simple. You can just look at the structure and you can see that market has pullback here. Pretty simple. Lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower high, lower low. So again, what we're expecting, well, just the same scenario. Is market going to obviously come up into the supply and then give us that market move away? Is this early inducement? Is this again getting people in early so that people can start to sell and then market does the manipulation, fills in the rest of this imbalance and then comes into this supply. Obviously, if you look at this supply, it's extremely, extremely short because we still have the imbalance above this wick. If you want to, of course, you can obviously mark out the 2 candles from the body if that is obviously a bit more better for you guys. Now, that is what I'm going to keep an eye on for Great British Pound US dollar. Of course, if you look down here to the left where market is wicked into, it's just not much for me. We have a little bit of imbalance here. We haven't come into that. So yeah, I'm just not interested in the longs at this moment in time. Just being truthful. NZUSD, let's see what she's doing. Have a look at the daily time frame. You can see that we're inside that daily demand. But obviously, as we mentioned the other day, we come into this supply, slowed down, market manipulation, took out these highs that we created, which I talked about, and then obviously now dumped away. So ideally, what I'm going to keep an eye on is the reactions from here. The start of the daily imbalance is here. So market could have a movement into this area potentially, get that shift away, and then carry on downwards if that aligns with the dollar. Going into the 4 hour, you can see that for me personally, we talked about yesterday, we didn't hit into that supply. And obviously yesterday we just melted like absolutely away. We did tap in a little slightly, but we got a little imbalance, should I say. Now, for me, it's the same scenario where I'm interested to see how market reacts if we can get into this supply and then if we can get a shift away from there, that would be great. Longs, again, yes, we've come close to this demand, but for me, it's just not enough personally at this moment in time to look for longs. Again, it'll be more 1 hour time frames. If you are looking for, longing opportunities in here. If you have a look at the one just quickly, yeah, there's a little bit of little trap candle here, but for me, yeah, I want to see what happens when we get into these supplies. Plus, it's Friday. Plus, it's been a dead week in regards to the charts. Okay, AUD USD. So, had a good reaction so far from this supply. We tapped in once, moved away, then came back up, manipulated this high, took this high out, and then we've had this distribution away. So, for me personally, we've obviously not reached into this demand. But we are obviously in, even though it's ugly, this area of daily supply. Again, we can refine that on the four. So are we going to start seeing some sort of shorts now? Well, if we were to see some shorts, some sort of shorts, it would be for me personally this supply area here. So what I will be looking for is seeing if we can get that reaction from here to carry on shorting downwards. That is personally what I'd be looking for. Of course, this is looking a bit more better for longs. Let me just have a look at the dollar quickly. But the dollar's not appealing to me for shorts. But what I was going to say is this is looking appealing for longs. And what I mean by that is, potentially looking for if the candle finishes as it does, potentially looking to buy this up into this supply and then making a decision, being in the longs and then making a decision if you are obviously going to short or if market is just going to, not hold this supply and carry on longing, then you're obviously in this trade. So that could be a good possible idea. But again, just the dollar doesn't align with the AUD USD for me perfectly, preferably from a 4 hour perspective. USD card, I mean, literally just been consolidating, to be fair, for the past. In fact, let's have a look at the daily time frame again. For the past couple of days, as you guys can see, let me just remove this off the chart. There we go. So, what can we expect? Well, we didn't reach into this supply, and we haven't reached into this demand yet. I think as I already talked about these equal lows here, which we do have, that could be a target. So let me just mark them out again because for some reason I just took them off. This could be the target for that liquidity. And then it may be into that demand. So let's have a look at what the day 4 hour is doing. So for me personally, I don't really like the look of this already. we've obviously had a reaction from this 1 hour demand. See, for me, looking at this movement, it's all 1 hour rather than four. So if I jump down to the one, it might be able to tell me a little bit different. Um, so, I mean, if anyone ever says supply and demand or what I teach doesn't work, not that people do, look at this. This is just, you can't write this shit. Look at this. Imbalance left below, equal wicks. Market's obviously done what it's done, come back up, tapped into the supply and then moved away. That was a pretty clean move. Um, so from here, what's market done? Moved away. Where did market come back into? Even though it's ugly, there's institutional move here. You can see we tapped in, consolidated, slowed down again. Then what's happened is we've come into here for London and I had this move away. Now, for me personally, this is all, and this was looking all like nice and clean. The only thing that I am worried about is this candle here and the volume inside of this candle. Because once you look at this candle, if you look left, where we come out of, we have that slight imbalance. And then what do we have here? We have this area of 1 hour demand. So for me, this could be, and what else have we done? We've took liquidity, filled an imbalance, tapped into a demand. If for some reason the dollar carries on bullish, that would align with USD CAD carrying on bullish as well. So again, you could obviously wait to see how this candle finishes. And then if the candle finishes as it does, this could be an opportunity for the market to potentially carry on from here. So we'll have to wait and see with that. Okay, USD CHF, let's have a look. Daily reacted from obviously from this demand, and we're just being extremely bullish. We've not had any real pullback just yet. For obviously the daily, what can we see at this moment in time with USD CHF? Well, 4 hours has been extremely trendy, as you guys can see, and as we discussed. Yesterday, we obviously discussed the fact that I wanted, when market closed, we could obviously dip into this. We didn't tap into the demand, but then we got this bullish move away. So where's market reacting from right now? Market's reacting from right now, this area of 4 hour demand. And as you can see, candle finishes, pull back on the lower time frames, bullishness again. So it's a valid demand area. So it either is going to carry on from here potentially, or if we do get the dollar shorting, then USD CHF could come into this demand area. But as of right now, we've just got to play this demand area. So looking at the one, probably pretty easy to see. We didn't tap into that 1 hour, unfortunately. But yeah, tapped into demand, took out all these equal lows, tapped into the imbalance that we have inside of that 4 hour, and now we're getting that bullishness away. So it's going to be interesting to see if the market reacts from this supply. If it reacts from this supply, that would be the same as the dollar reacting from this supply. So if the dollar does react from here, then I'm expecting USD CHF to react from here as well. But again, with this candle and this wick, if dollar comes, if the US dollar CHF carries on bullish, the dollar carries on bullish, USD CAD carries on bullish, we could obviously potentially catch some longs on the lower time frames. USD Japanese yen, truthfully, today I'm not interested in. If you look, we are nowhere near. We're nowhere near, of course, where we would like it to be. So long we do have this new demand area here. So 4 hour is still the same as yesterday, pretty much. I would like to see this lower areas come into. So yeah, that is all I've got for you guys today. Hopefully you guys got some value from this call as always. I appreciate you guys tuning in. But yeah, man, as always, please make sure that you drop a like on this video. Make sure that you've got your subscribe button turned on. This is free. You guys have to understand, if it's free, the least thing you guys could do is, drop a like or just make sure you subscribed or make sure that you got your notification button turned on. But other than that, guys, have an amazing weekend. Take care and God bless.